What's up, guys? I'm Laura from Reading in Bed, and this is just going to be a quick Friday Reads slash book prize update. Do not adjust your screens. I am not Peg, the book prize addict, although I certainly feel that way lately, because that's all I seem to be talking and thinking and tweeting about. But anyways, I've only got 3 book prizes I'm going to talk about. I'm pretty sure that Peg is following at least 4 or 5 at this point, so not quite on her level. Let's talk about The Man Booker, because the shortlist just came out, and I seem to be cursed. Whatever books I pick from the long list, whether it's the Booker, the Women's Prize, whatever, tend to not make the shortlist, and that was the case this time. I only managed to read 2 long listers. I read Warlight by Michael Ondaatje, as you guys know, and I managed to finish just in the nick of time In Our Mad and Furious City by Guy Gunnaron today. So, Warlight, I think I've talked about. It was a bit disappointing, even for a huge Michael Ondaatje fan like me. It left me a little meh. The writing's impeccable. You can't really fault him for his writing. You can, but you'd be wrong and you can fight me. But it was more the story and the characters that just didn't really add up to much in Warlight. So I'm okay with it not being on the short list. And I think most people are okay, given that he just won the Golden Booker, etc. But I was really disappointed not to see this one on the short list. This is one of those debut novelists that people are getting salty about, but it was really good. It wasn't flawless by any means, but like, you know, not many books are, but it was I don't know. I think I might make a separate video with some of my thoughts, not really review, but there's just a few things that stuck out with this one, and I don't want to derail this whole video, but I would highly, highly recommend this book, and I hope it doesn't fall off the radar now that it's off the short list. So, I mean, as for the rest of the short list, you know, there's no Snap and there's no Sabrina, so everyone, I guess, can calm down a little bit now. But it sure is a American and Canadian and Ireland heavy list, right? Like, you know, that's one of the things with this book. This is a book by, you know, a guy from London, still lives in London. You know, the whole book is very specific to London and to a particular neighborhood in London. Whereas a lot of the other books and basically most of the shortlist, I think, is, you know, North American or Irish or whatever. I was just watching Steve Donahue's reaction, and he was saying that he's kind of rooting for Washington Black by Essie Adujan. He thought she was American. She's not. She's Canadian. We're going to get to her with the Giller long list. But so now, like, yeah, okay, I'm going to give in to the pressure now that she's been shortlisted and all of that. I will get her book. I'll probably have to buy it because, of course, the library hold list is long and I didn't get on it soon enough. So, so that, like, as far as The Man Booker goes from here on in, I'm probably just going to read Washington Black and that's it. And, you know, I'll probably be pulling for it to win out of what's left on the short list, most of which I won't be reading. So that's The Man Booker. Let's talk about the Giller Prize. So the Giller Prize long list came out on Monday. That is Canada's big prize. I did a video on Monday all about, you know, the stats, the numbers, like how it stacks up in terms of gender and race and age and all of those things. So check that out if you want. So I have already had a couple of my library holds come in, and well, I guess I should mention there's the one book I have read, Johnny Appleseed by Joshua Whitehead, and now I just got 2 long listers in at the library. So the first one is Solitude by Paige Cooper, and this is a short story collection. Hearing pretty good things about it so far. They seem like they're going to be pretty weird, maybe even a little raunchy, so this kind of seems up my alley. I'll probably at least sample some of the short stories. And the other one that came in is this one, Songs for the Cold of Heart. And I didn't really, you know, this is the one title that's in translation from the French. So obviously this came out in Quebec previously, and it's on the back. It actually says over 60,000 copies sold in Quebec alone, which actually, like, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you think about, you always hear that, like, for literary novels, you can get on a bestseller list if you sell, like, you know, 5,000 copies or whatever. And I think that's in the States, too. Like, I don't know, maybe that's for all of Canada, but 60,000 in just Quebec. Like, wow. Then I went to the library and picked this up, and, like, look how big this is. Oh my God. Again, like, just like with, was that book called We Are the Young. It's not that the page count is super daunting. It's under 600 pages, but it's just like the pages are big, it's heavy, the print is small, the margins are small. So I'm like, what have I gotten myself into here? But then I read the blurb. So there's a blurb here that says, if the Americans have John Irving and the Colombians Gabriel Garcia Marquez, we have Eric Dupont, and he's every bit as good as them. This blurb might as well have been written just for me. Those are two of my favorite authors. So now I'm like, you know, at first glance I was like, but now I'm like, oh, I think I might have to read this. And the only other notable thing about this so far is that on the back it says that this is Eric Dupont's La Fiancée Américaine. So that was the French title, I'm guessing. La Fiancée Américaine, the American fiancé. So interesting when titles change in translation. I always like, especially with this one, because I guess the direct translation would have been the American fiancé, or An American Fiancé. Which, given the popularity of books with titles like that, like An American Marriage, I would have thought they would have gone that way. But, and Songs for the Cold of Heart really is kind of a blah, like generic Canlit title. The other one I was thinking of was An American War, which was another Canadian title, but called An American War, which was popular even though it sucked. So anyways, I'm very interested in this. So those are the two Giller Prize. Like I said, I will be reading Washington Black as well. Don't know how much, other than that. I never really try to read entire long lists because it's a bit much for me. And then lastly, I think I mentioned previously that there is a new National Book Awards, National Book Awards American. They're kind of like our Canadian Governor General's Award in that it's not just one award, there's like different categories and they have multiple awards. So there's a new one this year for translated fiction, which would have been nice to know when I decided to, really follow the Man Booker International Prize, which meant I had to be paying ridiculous ebook prices and ordering things from Europe because of course it was full of books that haven't been published here yet. Now we have a very legit and well-regarded prize being handed out for translated fiction published in the States. Much easier for a Canadian. But anyways, so here's the two books again from the library that I've gotten off that long list so far. The first is Como Madre by Roch oh gosh, I looked up the translation. Look up him saying it. You got to roll the R's and stuff. Laraki. Anyway, so this is the one I've started. This book is wild. This is set in Argentina in 1907, and it's a group of doctors who are trying to do research on what happens after death, like immediately after death. So they've devised a way of beheading people such that their vocal cords stay intact, so that once their head is severed, they have a couple seconds where they can still speak, and like they try to get them to describe what they're seeing and what happens to them in that moment of death. But they only have 9 seconds. That's somehow they've determined that for 9 seconds these people can still kind of like see and speak. And as you can imagine, in 9 seconds, it's kind of hard to get anything meaningful. So they're just like, it almost reminds me of Frankenstein in Baghdad, where like the body count is just piling up, and it doesn't seem sustainable, but it's like absolutely crazy, creepy, so well written. The translation is really great. So, and it's short, like many translations are. And then the other one is The Emissary by Yoko Tawada. She wrote Memoirs of a Polar Bear, which I absolutely loved. I think this one is a bit of a post-apocalyptic kind of a thing. And I've just invited Sean the Book Maniac to see if he wants to buddy read this with me. Because as I told him, I don't feel like I'm a real booktuber until I've done a buddy read with Sean, and ideally he bails on me during that buddy read, because that's just usually what happens. So I think that's it. Those are the 3 book prizes. That's kind of what I'm reading or thinking about reading soon. So yeah, tell me what you guys are reading and what book prizes have caught your interest lately. Okay, thanks for watching.